You're watching Global Trade This Week with Pete Mento and Doug Draper.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another breakneck episode of Global Trade This Week, brought to you by our good friends at Cap Logistics. I'm Pete Mento, and with me, as always, is the brains of the operation to my incredibly passionate Italian heat, Mr. Doug Draper. Doug, how are you, buddy?
Pete, thanks for that intro. I appreciate it, and doing great. It's a good day in Colorado. I can't see a cloud in the sky, and it's crisp blue, and the mountains are snow-capped.
Oh, isn't that nice? It's gray and miserable here in New Hampshire. It's pretty much been that way for a long time. This morning it was 5 degrees when I woke up, and let's see what right now. Oh, we're up around 30.
Yeah.
There's a big win. Yeah, it is. It's just been a weird winter, dude, and I'm looking forward to spring at some point. But hey, man, what you gonna do?
Yeah.
When you decide to live up north, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is, man.
Agreed.
Yeah. So listen, you are first this week.
Yep. Yeah.
And you got some doozies. So why don't you go ahead and hit us?
Yeah. Well, we do have some doozies, and we'll chat up. I'll explain the things behind my shoulder that Troy's hanging out with here in a bit. But my first one, we were just talking before we jumped on the air about different shows and binge watching. And one that I have going on right now, Pete, is called All Mankind. It's on Apple TV. It's about the space race and what if the Russians landed on the moon first. And the opening scene is pretty amazing. I just spoiled it, but it's pretty amazing about how it is. And then the evolution of the show is about the race, and we're chasing, not leading, and all of the emotion, the storylines, and everything else that would have potentially come out of that. But it follows along pretty well with what really happened. They do some great overlays with presidents and everything else. So anyway, season 2, I'm in it right now, and part of season 2 is that they have a moon base on the moon, and there's 15, 20 people up there, and they're mining stuff, and it's going crazy, and I'm wrecking the show for anybody that's watching it. But it got me thinking about something I saw a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, sorry about that, everybody. See, I won't mention a thing about season 1, and we'll go from there. But anyway, the thing I saw a couple of weeks ago, maybe a couple of months ago, was about Blue Origin looking to launch a private space station called Orbital Reef. And they define it as a mixed-use business park. They're thinking 2025, 2030. It's a joint venture with a division of Sierra Nevada, and that's all this kind of cool stuff. Think of it like, I don't know, almost like a WeWork in space, right? So I started thinking, because of the show All Mankind, because of that private space station and Orbital Reef, is this the start of the international logistics transportation space race? And I think the answer is absolutely yes. That obviously there's logistics that need to be used to build the damn thing, but then replenishing supplies and things of that nature. And yes, the aircraft to get up to space will be privately held, but that's no different than an airplane or a sea vessel or anything else, or a truck that's going out there. It's going to be people. And the concept of brokerage and transportation logistics are going to get its origins through the origin of Blue Origin, creating the Orbital Reef. So I think we poked around and made fun of that a couple of episodes ago. Maybe it was late 2021, Pete, but it's coming. And I think if this mixed-use business park in space actually happens, we will actually see the logistics of space come to fruition. So I love it. It may be a little bit of a novelty out of the gate, but somebody is going to do it because some company wants to put their moniker on there and blast on their website that they were first to space. So I love it. That's my two worlds came together. An article about Blue Origin and the show I'm watching on Apple TV called All Mankind. What do you think about all that, Pete?
Doug, I'm a much bigger buyer than you are on this for a couple of big reasons. First of all, way to put a shout out to a local business up there in Colorado, Sierra Nevada Corporation, with my bestie and my main homegirl, Abby Freeman, That is one amazing company. And I am, I'm a really big fan of all the things that they do out there. And then second of all, it's my firm belief that America's decoupling of space exploration of the space part of aerospace probably about 20 years ago. I mean, the real conscious decoupling of it and allowing corporations to just dump money and ideas and to go out and get the talent that would have normally gone to NASA. Let's be frank, right? And then to give them the kind of salaries and creativity and open space to really go out and push their ideas is how we got to where we are today. How we have companies like SpaceX who aren't just talking trash about going to Mars. They're getting ready to do it. And to put people out there and put a human being out on Mars. And to have those really frank conversations like Elon Musk has, where he says, we're going to go, we're going to put a human being out there, and a lot of them won't come back. But we're ready to make that step. We're ready as a race, the human race, to go and to try to do that. The amount of things that have to be moved from one place to another just on this planet to make that work, the amount of raw materials, ideas, technology, it is mind-boggling. And to me, as a trade nerd, Doug, the thing that scares me is controlling that technology, making sure that we don't let that technology get in the hands of the political rivals of the United States, of the military rivals of the United States, because controlling that technology is such an important part of the growth of our economy. And I think that in the wrong hands, it becomes a real issue. The United States and Russia had a loose agreement to never militarize space. Now, whether or not they did, I think there's some questions about that. The space shuttle had always been under some scrutiny as to whether or not it had been built as a platform to weaponize space. But at what point does the draw of weaponizing space, does the ability for someone to be able to, through gravity, just drop missiles, to drop ordnance from space in a way so fast that no system would be able to stop it, that temptation to overcome any sort of agreement. It's terrifying. And, to keep me awake at night. I'll be dead before anybody does it. But man, why are you laughing? Are they talking about doing that on the show or something?
No, I'm laughing for two reasons, Pete. Number one, you could be a writer on my binge show right now because I won't even go any further than that. And the second thing is, in my mind, I'm thinking about taking parts and hammers and things to build. And you just took this to like weaponizing space.
Oh,
I love it. I love
it. They're in Colorado. They have the annual aerospace show, that space show where there's like whole parts of it that you and I couldn't go into because we don't have security clearance. Like somebody like a black Suburban would come out of nowhere and throw both of us on the ground and tase us if we tried to go to certain parts of it because it's so it's such a big deal. And that's part of it. There's that weird relationship between the government and the people in Colorado, and it really is. It's Colorado, man, where these ideas are coming from. So I think it's beautiful and it's wonderful, but it also has a dark side to it, and it needs to be controlled. And regulatory control of those ideas is an important part of keeping our economy spinning. Yeah. That's a great topic, Doug.
Good.
I think the show should watch it real close.
Yes. So, all right, Pete, you're up, my friend.
Yeah. Well, speaking of stealing ideas, it's been about 2 years since the United States and China came to agreement on paper, at least, to do something about this ongoing trade war that we've had forever that had been escalated. And we had this phase one agreement. And part of that phase one agreement was that China was going to start chipping away at this imbalance that we had between these two countries. They were going to do something that we thought made a lot of sense, buy a lot more American agricultural products, pork, grains, certainly beef, chicken, sorghum, wheat, rice. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. It made a lot of sense. And they were also going to buy more American energy products, more services, more technology. Again, this is all just obvious. And we had some parts in this as well that we were going to do for the Chinese. Mainly, we were going to lift some tariffs. Now, over the course of this, the pandemic happens, which gives the Chinese what most people saw as a credible excuse to back away from it. But in reality, all the things that they needed were things that were in this agreement. They needed more foodstuffs. They certainly needed more agriculture products. There's been a run on them in Asia that they've been looking for all over the place, but they weren't buying them from us. Essentially, Doug, if you look at the reports, they follow through in about 60% of what they promised that they would buy. And even then, that's being pretty generous. If you look at other reports, they're probably closer to 40. Some would say 38, 40%. So now the Biden administration, who loves to complain about this agreement, they love to say, we were stuck with this agreement. We don't necessarily like it, but it was signed before we came in here, and now we have to enforce it and do something about it. They're in a position where they've got to make some decisions about how they plan on taking this agreement to the next level with China and trying to salvage something between ourselves and the Chinese now that it's 2 years gone past, and honestly, it's expired. So to get China to come to the table, to follow through with the promise that they would do, and hopefully bring us to that next phase 2 of this agreement. Honestly, Doug, I don't think we have any leverage. I don't think China has any intention of doing anything going forward. And I think that really things are so bad geopolitically. This is nothing but it's a moot point at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think, it was kind of a ceasefire when this agreement when phase 1 was rolled out, a ceasefire of the escalating tariff war. And I think you're right. There's a lot of excuses and a lot of situations that China could spin to their benefit on why this didn't happen. Truth, fable, whatever it may be. But I don't know. There doesn't seem to be any momentum for a phase 2. Just kind of let it die out and we'll see. And it's, I don't know. There's the human rights violation, the political boycott of the Olympics, things of that nature. That I don't know if it's going to resurface in any meaningful form or fashion in the near term.
And not to mention China suddenly being Russia's best friend. So I don't see us all suddenly getting together and having a big group hug and saying, forget about it.
Yeah.
It's not looking real good right now.
Yeah. So, all right. Halftime. What do you think? You want to go first? You want me to go first?
I can go first, yeah. Halftime brought to you by our good friends at Cap Logistics. For those of you who are wanting to learn more, you can learn more about them at caplogistics.com. They're the good people that fund this and certainly give us all the support that we need to bring you our babbling opinions week after week on all things geopolitics, logistics, and trade.
Yeah.
My halftime this week, Doug, has to do with the book, with the Facebook, my friend. I'm not a social media guy really anymore. I was for a time. Right now, I use Twitter for professional things, and LinkedIn is pretty much the only thing I post on, and that's mostly trade stuff. Mm-hmm. Not really a Facebook guy. But last week, Facebook got took to the woodshed by the street. I mean, they got tore up, and it was mostly because they were losing so many users. And people are wondering if this shift to the metaverse and the use of these virtual environments is going to be a good call for them. Not only that, but there's a lot of people now who are opting out of the services that would allow Facebook to gather data about their users and resell them. So are we seeing the end of Facebook and social media using us as their product, Doug? Or is it just, old farts like us don't really see the point of it anymore? Do you do the TikTok dances, Doug? Are you a TikTok dancing kind of guy?
No, I've been, I've never had a Facebook account, just like you. The only thing I have an Instagram that I set up and have used like once. So other than LinkedIn, I'm not a social, I don't get in the social aspect of things, but see, I can't even think of the right terminology. So I don't know. I'll give, Facebook, or Meta, they got smart people over there. They're not dumb. They're seeing the trends and how I don't want you tracking me anymore. And if you don't know what the commodity is, then it's you, right? As far as what they're selling. So I'll give them a little credit on the whole metaverse. I don't know if it's too cutting edge and to get their hands around it, but they are pivoting. They're trying to do something, in my opinion, they're trying to do something because they realize that just gaining market share and selling data is not sustainable. It was for a while, just like a professional football team. You can hide all the ills of the team as long as you keep winning, and you can hide a lot of the potential what ifs if you keep growing and just bringing on new subscribers. So I'll give them some credit. I'm not a big fan or use any of that stuff, but I think that they're smart in trying to pivot and do something different. But we shall see. Will it be embraced? I don't know, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, Doug, for me, when it comes to Meta and that whole universe, I'm a firm believer in virtual reality. And I think that when you have that many users, that much money, and that broad of a platform, if you do it right, they're probably in the best position of anyone to actually deliver on it. So
yeah.
I guess we'll see.
Yeah. Well, my take on this, Pete, is I figure we'll just give both of us a little shot of adrenaline here, because I read that the leaders in Super Bowl ads this year are going to be all crypto. It's all going to be gaining awareness of all the different cryptocurrencies and crypto options out there. So I know that is your hot button. So just be prepared, Pete, whenever you're watching your team win, and we'll talk about that in a sec. But the one for me is I saw that there's drone deliveries. KFC is looking to do drone deliveries in Australia, which is great. And you know how fired up I get on that stuff. So I'm going to dive in real quick here and give you some points which validate my irritation for drone delivery and the reason we need to stop talking about it. Number one is you can have drone deliveries in this example if your package is less than 2.6 pounds. All right, that means I can't get a whole hell of a lot of chicken wings. You have to be approved as a customer. They have to do a site assessment of where you're having this delivered, because the drone can only go into certain areas. They're only delivering in the day, and certain weather will prevent the drones from flying. So all of those things is exactly the reason why drone technology is really cool to talk about, but is completely impractical in the big mass scale. So crypto for you, Pete, and more drone deliveries for me. That's my halftime.
Doug, what did the drone do to you? Point on the doll where the drone touched you. All right, let's just start there.
I love it. No.
I remember when Uber was a service that was only in Chicago and New York, was only in certain neighborhoods, and it was something that limo drivers did with their off time. And it was only for black cars. I remember, Doug. I remember.
Yep.
You know what? That site assessment, I bet they do it with Google Maps, buddy. I bet it's done with AI and machine learning. And I bet once they do one neighborhood, they're done. You're thinking small, buddy. You're thinking
Don't
small.
Don't talk to me about drones, Pete. I'm done.
Yeah. And when it comes to crypto, this is one massive pump and dump. You get everybody talking about it before these big stupid commercials on Sunday, when Joe Burrow, former LSU quarterback, finally brings a championship to the good people of Cincinnati and Kentucky. Because, let's face it, Cincinnati is really just a city in Kentucky. It's not really in Ohio. People only care about Cincinnati from Ohio when they're doing something, like in sports. And then they're going to dump it all, because that is all that crypto is. It is a pump and dump scheme over and over and over again. So all this is another opportunity for the illusionary concept that is cryptocurrency. It is crap. It is ridiculous. It is silly. It is a scheme. I can't take it anymore, Doug.
All right. That's why I love it.
Hate all of it.
We're both passionate about our topics, so it's good.
Yeah, but you need to drones are incredibly useful, my friend.
No, they're not.
Incredibly useful. But in any case.
All right, buddy.
Next topic, please.
My number two, it's related to final mile electrification. I think I said that right, and how that's continuing to grow. However, in one of the shows previously, Pete, I talked about how that is the new shiny object, and that we talked about Nikola and electrification of cross-country semis that are big and draw attention, and all of that's kind of morphed down into what can the final mile do, and what can EV technology do for the final mile. I really think that's where it's going to be in 2022 and 2023. It was one of the predictions that I made on our prediction show. But when you have a lot of attention, a lot of opportunity for growth, there's going to be some fraud involved with it, and there's going to be guys positioning themselves and manipulating the system to get rich quick and then bail out with their money. And the latest example is a company called ELMS, which is Electric Last Mile Solutions. And they went public through a SPAC offering, and it exploded into unicorn status. I don't know, it was worth 1 point some odd billion dollars, which is completely unrealistic. And what do? Whenever you have a good idea, you SPAC it, you SPAC that shit, goes public, goes to unicorn status, more buyers flood to the stock, the brainchild behind the idea and the founders have some funny business going on, they make a little extra money because they undervalued and purchased, and then the stock shot up. They come in and they repay some money, they apologize, or they go silent, and they walk away rich. And so I think this is another example of how you're going to see the final mile electrification have more and more of these shadow players and fringe players come about, because everybody wants to be the winner. Everybody wants to glove onto it. Nikola, Lordstown Motors, I think Canoe has been one that's popped up. I'm not saying they're bad services. I think they're valuable in their intent, but it's another opportunity for people to manipulate the system, the energy around electrical vehicles, for self-gain. And it's going to continue to happen. They'll shake out. Technology's great. And why do we care? If you're an investor, you better be wary. If you just want to be the beneficiary of the services that it's going to bring to the table with electrifying the final mile, then I don't think you have anything to worry about. But it's interesting. It was something that we called in the prediction show, Pete, and it just happened recently. And it's going to happen again and again. We could have the same story 2 or 3 more times before this year is up.
I love it when you're Grandpa Fussy Britches. I love it when you're just like this irritated, angry, crusty old freight dude who like everything new is stupid. I love it when we get on the show and that is you want to contradict any new concept and you hate it. Mm. I mean, you do like EVs. You've talked about the concept.
Oh, I love it. Yes. I love EV. Yeah. I'm frustrated with the way it's going about.
Yeah. All of these new companies are just hangers-on trying to pile on a new idea. So none of them are going to work out. It's all stupid. Come on, Doug. Here's the idea. You want competition. You want competition as much as possible because it drives up the opportunity for all these other organizations to consider the sort of ideas that these new technologies are coming up with. It's innovation. Innovation causes everyone else to either obtain that innovation and bring it in-house or to compete with it. I think it's wonderful that all of these people are pushing one another in this way. And I think that you should try to find some place in your heart for all of these different organizations that are pushing it as well. And maybe be open to these new concepts. I don't know, Doug. You're very irritated this winter.
Yeah. Well,
have you thought about maybe backing off the caffeine a little bit before these shows?
I had several cups this morning, but I don't. I'm all in for the the competition. I'm a big believer in electric vehicles. I love the fact that there's competition. My main point here is there's going to be a lot of fraud and unscrupulous people. They're going to come in and try to benefit personally from it. And we just need to watch out. I don't care about these guys fighting for the money. And as long as you're not investing and losing it personally, you and I will benefit from the competition and the cool technology that's coming to the table. I just want people to be aware that every new shiny object that's related to electric vehicles, be wary, because it's happened multiple times with the companies I just referenced. It's going to happen again. I love the competition. We're going to benefit from it. Bring it on. Just be careful.
Doug, I'm going to let you in a little secret. And I really hope that young Keenan and his glorious mane of hair is listening as well. You just described cryptocurrency.
It's true. That is true. Yep. I will admit.
You just described every cutting-edge concept before it went to the mainstream. It was embraced by the larger populace. Everything is dangerous, scary, and ridiculous. It probably has a bunch of folks that are just pretending to do it to make some money and get the hell out. And it's up to us as investors to read it, understand it and decided we should put our money, or for Grandpa Fussy Britches to be angry about it. So I don't know, GFP. I'm a little concerned. I'm a little concerned that you know, are you and I going to be in rocking chairs in the next episode talking about that Thin Lizzy show that we went to that time we took our Trans Am to?
Yeah.
I'm starting to get a little nervous
Yeah.
about where the show's going. Are we really ahead of the trend, or are we at the point now where we're starting to turn into the old men on TV?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, let's flip that script, man. Why don't you take us out of here on a positive note?
Okay, I will. It's not positive. So we're coming up on 3 years. 3 years that the United States has had the 301 tariffs on China. 3 years. I remember very well. My friend Dan, the import man, and I, we were still at Crane Worldwide, and President Trump was like, what I'm going to do with these huge tariffs, and he was going to put them on China, 25%. It was just one line item that they was going to put them on for those tariffs. And we're saying to Dan, these won't last long. We'll work it out. Okay. How that could be. 3 years later, it's not just that line of tariff, but there's like 2 other lists. We've got court cases that are fighting against them. People have changed their entire supply chains. Not a lot of people in order to deal with them. Most Americans don't even know what they apply to. And we've just learned to deal with the inflation of these higher tariffs. We are just managing our supply chains and still buying this crap from the same suppliers at that 25% higher rate because it's still cheaper than making it in this country or someplace else. And we've been saying over and over again, we're going to work this out. We're going to come up with a way to deal with it. But we're still keeping these tariffs in place because China has not come to the table to deal with their alleged state-supported theft of intellectual property all around the world. And as we said in the first segment that I went through, so was our second segment, there's really nothing on the horizon that makes it look any better. So we are celebrating, so there's the positive side, what is about to be the 3rd anniversary of the 301 tariffs with China. And I'm telling you right now, Doug, I'll be shocked if we don't have a birthday cake with 4 candles on it, because I think we're actually heading down that direction.
Yeah. I tend to agree. I think I made mention that the human rights violations and the fact that we boycotted politically the Olympics, there's no reason. It would be a sign of weakness, I think, if we made any changes right now in relationship to our positioning with China. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. Birthday number 4 will come, and we'll be talking about the same topic. I don't think a lot's going to change in the next 365 days.
Doug, we're going to have a cake. If it makes it to 4 years, we're going to have a cake. I want noisemakers. I want hats. I want to do it all. Maybe we'll get pony rides.
Yeah.
We're crazy.
It's weird. Troy's a big fan of pineapple upside down cake. You may think that's strange, but if you look at him and you say his favorite cake is pineapple upside down, you're kind of like, yeah, I get it. I can kind of see that.
He looks like the Hawaiian Punch guy a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And
I can see that.
And
yeah.
Before I take us out of here, Pete, number 3 is the total number of medals that our great country has won thusly at the Olympics, at least at the time of print date of this show as of 20 minutes ago. So things may have changed in 20 minutes, but it's 3.
USA. Let's go USA.
We'll get it.
Yeah, all right. Well, take us out of here, Doug.
Yes. Well, go USA. I'll also say thanks for joining us today on Global Trade This Week. Pete, always appreciate your perspectives on everything and our banter. I laugh. It puts me in my place a little bit, but every time at the dinner conversation with my wife, she's like, who's this Pete guy again? I'm like, he's a myth. He's a legend. Just let him be out there in New Hampshire. So, Pete, thank you for bringing your perspectives as always.
Pretty soon we're going to be together out there. So
yes.
Can't wait for that.
Yes. We'll
can't wait for that.
That'll be fun come May. And thanks to Cap Logistics for making all this happen. We give Keenan a little bit of gruff, but if it wasn't for those guys, we wouldn't be here today talking to you. So thanks to Cap Logistics, caplogistics.com if you want to learn more about their logistics and transportation solutions. That's it. It's a wrap. Thanks again for joining us this week on Global Trade This Week. Pete, we'll catch you later.
Thanks, Doug.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care, everybody.
Have a great week.